58 times I have started a farm or helped someone start a farm, and 58 times I have been successful. Now this is not luck. The steps that I have developed and the things that I have implemented on all these farms actually work. By the time they work 58 times, each and every time, it simply means that it's not luck. Now, whether it's livestock or crops, it's all about the principles. It's not about the nitty-gritties of what is done inside there. It's all about the principles that are implemented. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you a framework of how to always start a farm that will work. So stick around right through to the end. So in order for us to understand how to successfully start and grow a farm, it's all about understanding the stereotypes that people face when starting farms and facing them and understanding how to deal with them. Once those are dealt with, then you'll always be successful. So what are the 5 common stereotypes that people usually go through? First, that starting a farm is very capital intense. Second, that farming has too much competition. Third, that it's very difficult to find market for farm products. 4, that it always requires your physical presence to run a farm. That means a farm can never be successful without your physical presence. And 5, that farming has so many uncontrollable variables. So first, let's debunk all these stereotypes. I'm going to give you solutions for each and every one of these stereotypes, and this ensures that when you do start your farm, you don't face these problems, and hence it increases your chances of success. First is the fact that farming is capital intensive. Now, it's true that if you decide to go the conventional route, you're going to find it very capital intensive because farming usually involves purchase of land at the very beginning. So how are you going to do it? If you're going to do it in a way that's comfortable for you, it means that you're going to have to find land quite close to you, and it's highly likely that you live in a city or you live in a place where land is already expensive. So how do you then get around the whole idea of land? There are 2 alternatives. First is hiring land starting out. Now I know this doesn't make sense, or it might not make sense at the beginning because you're thinking, I'm going to have to put up structures, I'm going to have to put up things on the farm. Well, you don't need to put up structures depending on the kind of farming that you're doing. For example, if you want to do chicken farming like I am doing right here, there's a lot of people who have done chicken farming and given up, but they do have structures that they have left there abandoned. How about you go check on those guys and hire their structures? You can utilize them for 4 or 5 years, and by then you'll have gotten enough money to purchase your own land and to put up your own structures. So it's a very effective way. Another one, you can just hire land. Land is quite cheap to hire compared to purchasing, especially if you're going to be growing crops. You know, you pay someone for maybe 2-3 years, and then you just hire the land. You're going to give them a small fee, and you want to get money out of it. And after you've done that, you'll then have enough money that you can utilize to grow your own farm. But the second alternative is by buying land in a cheap place, a cheap, faraway place. Now I know that having the place a bit far away simply means that you're going to have to probably incur higher costs in transport moving to and from that place. But number 2, it makes it a bit difficult for you to supervise. So what that means is that you're going to have to master the other steps very well, you know, the other things later on that you're going to talk about very well to ensure that you can properly monitor the farm even in your absentia. So then when you do that, you know, just buy a small piece of land far away. It will be cheaper, it will be smaller, but with a potential for expansion. Once you do that, it ensures that, well, you can grow. I've actually shared a story of a farmer who actually just hires land, and he has been very successful doing so over years, making a lot of money. I'll leave a link to that video in the description. The second point is money. You need money to start a farm, not only land. So yes, I understand that you think you don't have enough money to start a farm. What I advise you is start small and grow. There is no need to start very huge. For me right here, I currently have 7,500 chickens on this farm, but I started with just 800. Just 800 about 5 years back. For you it could be 200, for you it could be 50. Just start small and grow. Let me tell you an interesting statistic. For everyone that starts a business this year, 80% of them will not be existent 5 years from now. You know what that means? That all the ones who are starting all other kinds of businesses, a lot of them are going to fail. A lot of them will not be existing. So what's the whole purpose of starting if you're not going to be existent 5 years from now? It's better that you start slowly. There is no rush, honest. There is no rush. What you need to know in your head, that everyone else who is starting, only 20% of them are going to be present in 5 years' time. So you have a whole 5 years to grow. You understand? For me, I started, like I've told you, just 5 years ago with 800. It's 5 years now, and I have 7,500 alone on this farm alone. You understand? Forget the breeder farm, forget everything else. Just this farm alone. So it's simply because I gave it time and I went slowly. If I had rushed to start with a very huge farm with no money, there are high chances I would have run out of money and I wouldn't be present all because I'm trying to go too fast. So understand me that there is no rush. If you're thinking about doing another business, honestly, the likelihood of you being present in 5 years' time is only 20%. So there is no rush. There's no rush for you to be successful. Just make sure that you do it steadily. Businesses grow if you do them steadily, put in the effort steadily, you'll have the results, because 5 years, honestly, is a short time for a business. Yeah, businesses, for them to be successful, they need to be given time. And in the grand scale of things, 5 years is a short time. So if you're going to start with 800 chickens like me, and in 5 years you have 7,500, then it makes sense. It makes sense by all means. So I would advise you to do so. The second thing is that farming has too much competition. Now, first of all, you need to understand that the product of farming is food. What does that mean? That competition is not a valid point, because food will always be necessary. It doesn't matter the community, it doesn't matter where it is. Some places are lacking food, some places have too much food. Food moves from places that have too much food to places with less food. So you need to understand that about food, there is ideally no competition. It's a necessary thing. That is why agriculture is one of those businesses where the likelihood of failure is very, very low compared to other businesses. Why? Because food is consistently necessary for places. But the second thing is, most of your competition actually doesn't know how to do business. You see, a lot of people don't understand that farming is actually a business. A lot of people do it as a hobby. A lot of people just play around. A lot of people, even the ones who want to do it as a business, just gamble around. They don't put in the best effort. They don't do research. They don't treat it as a business. So in all reality, even if you put in just the least amount of effort to try and do it as well as possible, you would already be ahead of 90% of people, ahead of a very huge percentage of people. But finally, number 3, all businesses have competition. All, yeah? Look at the most successful businesses, even if it's tech, even if it is, it doesn't matter what it is, manufacturing, they all have competition. So how do they manage to succeed with competition? Because they find ways to do their things and put their art together. So you have to put your art together, you have to put your craft together and actually go above the competition. If you are deciding to not join because there is competition, then you're just being a lazy ass. You understand? Make sure that you put in the effort and you work harder than your competition, work brighter than your competition, innovate, be creative to ensure that you have the best results for you. Excuse number 3, there is no market. Guys, I'll tell you, only lazy people would ever say something like that. Yeah? How do you say that there is no market for something if you're a hardworking person, if you're a focused person? Market is not there to come towards you. Market for anything has to be sought for, because you're in a competitive field. That's what you need to remember. The field that you're in, the kind of work that you're doing, farming is a competitive field. Everyone is trying to get ahead. Everyone is trying to get the best results. So if you don't put in all the effort that you can, if you don't work as hard as you can, then certainly you're going to be left behind. Yeah? All forms of businesses will always require you to do the work, to look for the market. So you can't sit down there and say that there is no market. If you're saying there is no market, you're just lazy, you're just not interested in doing the business, you're just not interested in making it work. If you only put in even just a little bit of effort, like I've told you, in agriculture, the demand is always there because it is food. The product is food. Food is consistently needed. If you put in even the very least amount of effort, you're going to find people looking for your product. So you've got to learn marketing skills. That's the whole thing. You've got to learn marketing skills. There are a lot of videos on YouTube that talk about marketing skills. There are a lot of books that you can read. You can attend seminars about marketing skills. So put in the effort to make sure that you learn about marketing and implement those skills. But also, you need to ensure that you skip the middleman. Yeah, you need to make sure that you skip the middleman. Of course, sometimes it's quite hard to skip the middleman, but any opportunity you get to skip the middleman, you need to make sure that you utilize it. So you have to create a proper link in the community about the market, and that link will ensure that you skip the middleman, you have the best results, because middlemen are very manipulative. They want to take all the profit from your very hard work, from your very detailed work, and just go and water it because, they know how to negotiate. They have learned how to negotiate and you don't know how to negotiate. So skip the middleman. But number 3, also you need to be strategic in your farm location. Yeah, you need to be strategic. If it comes to market, you need to be strategic. Don't just place your farm anywhere. You need to understand a lot of factors that play into it. For example, the culture and religion of the people. For example, you don't go and start a pig farm in a community which is mainly a Muslim. For us here in Uganda, there are communities where people don't eat mutton. You don't go and start a sheep farm in such a place and expect to sell sell the product over there. You don't go and start a broiler chicken farm deep in a village where you know that people don't feed on broilers. They only want local chicken. So you need to make sure that you understand your market. You also need to make sure that you understand their purchasing power, their purchasing ability. You go and start your farm in an area you're producing a high quality product which people in the area cannot afford. You understand? It doesn't make sense at all. So you need to put in place at least some form of basic research to ensure that place and strategically put your farm in an area which will ensure that market is obvious for you. Myth number 4 is that farming requires your physical presence for the farm to be successful. Guys, that's the old way of doing things. That's the old way. That's the most pathetic way. That's not a beautiful way. You don't start a farm when you want to control everything. Doing everything and wanting to control all the nitty-gritties will be the easiest and quickest way to ensure that you fail, and also to ensure that you burn out. You certainly can't sustain it all throughout. You're going to get weak, you're going to burn out. Yeah, so you need to make sure that you get your farm to a point where you can run the farm in your absentia, and that's how it will ensure that it's successful. Because if you're only going to rely on its success when you're present, what happens when you get ill? What happens when you have to go for someone's burial? What happens every time you step away? You're worried, you're scared that the farm is going to fail. That's pathetic. That's not sustainable. I don't advise that. Yeah, so then what do? You make sure that your farm is reliant on systems and not people. Systems and not people. Now, the upcoming course that I'm putting on my Farm Up Academy is going to break down this to the very nitty-gritties of it to ensure that you understand it very well. But the whole idea is that when it comes to a farm, if you're going to be relying on people, then you're going to have to hire the most efficient people. Those are going to usually be the most expensive people, and they're going to be the hardest people to find. You want anyone with basic skills who can do, for example, a managerial job, to do the manager job at your farm. You want the basic attendant to be able to do attendant work on your farm without too much supervision. So then how do you do that? By building systems on your farm. Systems that ensure that people can follow through and implement the things on your farm without you being present. You need to bring up the farm in a way that systems actually take precedence over people on the farm, and that will ensure that you consistently succeed whether you're present or not. And finally, myth number 5 is that there's too many uncontrollable variables in farming. So it's quite true that there are a lot of variables in farming, but it's not true that they're uncontrollable. That's the whole idea. So what do you do to make sure that you deal with this? First thing is control as much as you can when it comes to the farm. Now, don't want to control too much that you actually end up not being creative and doing things. Just control enough. For example, if you want to do farming and grow crops, then make sure that you have irrigation around, or make sure that you're doing greenhouse farming so that you can control some of the, the variables involved that will ensure that you either fail or don't fail. The second thing is do what you can and then leave the rest of the things to the expert. For example, you want to start a poultry farm, but then you want to be able to do everything. For example, a lot of people are telling me about doing black soldier flies to feed my chickens. Guys, black soldier flies is a lot of work, a lot of work. If I only concentrated on doing black soldier flies, that alone would be a farm with too much attention needed there. So instead of growing my chickens, I'm focusing on doing black soldier flies, and just like that, I end up doing nothing. You've heard the saying that a jack of all arts is a master of none. So if you're trying to do everything, that's going to be the quickest way of ensuring that you're good at nothing, and then your farm is going to fail. So only concentrate on the things that you can control, the things that you can do well, leave the rest for others to do, and pay them to make sure that they do them for you, and you get the best results on the farm. That is how you're going to make sure that you succeed and you have as much in your control as possible and do things as efficiently as possible. So I hope that you've learned these 5 points. These 5 points, if implemented, if you do them well enough, will ensure that you succeed and you have the best results. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, smash the notification bell. That way you never miss out on an upload. Catch you very soon with another video. Lots of love. Bye.